So the name of the book is Can This Be Me? Time After Time. We have the author, Margaret Teegarden, with us here on Author's Corner on America Tonight with me, Kate Delaney. And what a story it is. And it will pull you in and pull you under, and you'll find out why I said that in just a second. Margaret, thanks so much for coming on.
Oh, you're quite welcome. Thanks for having me.
So tell me the road to writing this book. What made you write this story?
Well, it's based on my real life. When I was young, my grandfather died tragically with a steam shovel accident, and my grandmother, my dad was the last of the family, and so she lived with us, and we're from the far west in Pennsylvania, and so we were all country bumpkins, but that was okay because we had good life. But then I started having dreams, and then my dreams sometimes became nightmares, and then I thought about them, and then one day I just started writing some of my dreams and some of my thoughts, and Can This Be Me was created.
Wow. And so you decided, everything that was filling up in your head, all those things that you had taken away, those voices, and putting them into this story. And you talk about the character you poured into the main character, Christy. So tell me about Christy, who had a happy life, grew up as a child, had these great memories, just like you're telling me about your life and telling the listeners, but then you're struggling to breathe. So tell us more about Christy.
Okay, well, Christy, Christy was at a reunion or a big picnic, and she disappeared from the group, and she found that she was by a shallow creek, and she found that she was being pushed in the water, and her head was being held under. Well, by the time she was ready to submit to the struggle and she was to die, somehow she wound up with her body. She was sitting alongside the creek, and she was okay. Somebody revived her, and she was saved by an unforced hand that, and her father found her sitting on the bench. The bank, and she was okay. But then she kept hearing these voices calling her, and she kept following the voices. They kept calling her. And everywhere that they called her to took her to a destination that it would be very harmful. It would be even cost her death. The whole purpose to the voices were to end Christy's life. And it was a force that she couldn't do anything. She couldn't reckon with them. So it was pretty much the near to her end. And then through the story, she went, when they called, the voices called her to different locations. She was taken, she went into a trance-like state and was moved from one area in time to another. She went into at one point she wound up in the cobblestone pavement in around London, around Old England, and she was at that point in time she was a man, and he was an unfortunate man. He lived in a stable, and the people made fun of her and him. And when he passed, at his tragic death, she was transformed back into Christy. And as soon as his demise, Christy went back to her own life. So that happened several times through her life. Every time that she went into a different life, it was a different circumstances. Every circumstance was different, but they all ended up supposedly to be a tragedy. Christy was to die.
Wow, but Christy survives that, because, I mean, you're taking us on this journey, and people will find this out and when they read your book, Can This Be Me, time after time. But we're talking about the paranormal. We're talking about being transported, seeing visions of someone's past life and death. And the deaths have to be tragic. You have to feel, I would imagine, Christy, the character in the book that's modeled after you in this novel, feels that pain and struggle. That's tough.
Yes, she felt all the pain. She struggled. She was tormented. It was a very, very tragic ending for the person who was in Christy's life at that time. But Christy always recovered back to be herself. Although that person at time died, the spirit remained back to Christy. It came back. So it was her spirit that was, the spirit was an earthbound spirit. The way I believe, or the way I see it, is that we all have a soul. And I don't want to go to any religious realms or anything like that. I just want to let everybody understand that, to me, we have one spirit. That spirit has a goal in its existence. Until you reach that goal, you keep coming back until you follow the goal that was your purpose in this spirit world. The soul that was with Christy was earthbound, refused to go into the spirit realm. It wanted to stay earthbound. So to stay earthbound, it had to get rid of Christy. Christy had to die for this soul to remain on the plane.
Wow.
On the earth. But it went over and over it several times. The area that it was portrayed in was in southwestern Pennsylvania. The tragic accidents and stuff that happened in my book. Everything happened in and around the Washington area and Pittsburgh area, Steel City. The final scenes were outside of the Fort Pitt Bridge, right over at the end of the bridge that was called Bridge to Nowhere for a while, because it had no the diagram or anything hadn't been built yet for that bridge, so it was dubbed the Bridge to Nowhere for a long time.
Wow.
But anyway, at that point, that's how things were supposed to end, but it didn't end. To Christy, it ended, but then it took her into the heavenly realm.
Yeah. We don't want to tell everyone everything, but it is all about who pushed her to the creek, who's trying to drag her deeper into the water, and who saved her just when the threat of her life was going to snap out. And when people read this book, Margaret, what do you hope they take away?
I hope that they take the fact that I am not a religious person. I do believe in the Almighty. And I know in my heart that no matter what happens in our lives, there is always a chance for miracles, and miracles do happen. And I want people to believe that there's not always an end to everything. If your faith is strong enough, you can pull through almost anything.
What a perfect place to end this. And again, Can This Be Me? Time After Time, Margaret Teegarden. You can get that book on Amazon or Barnes & Noble. Plus, she has another book, Waltz Through Eternity. You can pick that up, too, as well. Margaret, thank you.
Katie, you're very, very welcome. And it was such a pleasure to talk to you.
Visit www.greatwritersmedia.com. Email us at info@greatwritersmedia.com. Call us at 877-600-5469. Subscribe now.